Well, Raul Castro has launched a few small free market reforms, as Shasta was telling us, since taking over from his brother, including giving Cubans the right to buy cell phones and other electronics. Barbershops were handed over to employees who pay rent and tax, but they can charge what they want. Also, some licenses for private taxis have been granted, and thousands of hectares of state-owned land has been turned over to private farmers. We want to get some more expert analysis of all of this now. For that, we turn to Tomas Bilbao, live in Washington. He's the executive director of the Cuba Study Group. But thank you so much for being with us. So what do you make of this? It seems like quite an unprecedented step.
Yeah, well, it's the clearest indication to date that Cuban leaders recognize the need to reform Cuba's economy. And while it's a step in the right direction, this isn't the first time that Cuba has issued licenses for self-employment. It did so back in the 90s. So only time will tell whether the Cuban leaders will continue to take the type of reforms that are necessary to rescue the Cuban economy from the worst condition it's probably been in the last 50 years.
And is that the reason driving this announcement, the fact that the economy is faltering and they have no other choice?
Correct. Again, the Cuban economy is in the worst situation that it's been in 50 years. And I think that Cuba's new government under Raul Castro recognizes that it must take steps to reform Cuba's economy, and they'll probably do so while trying to maintain political control. So it's a delicate balance that they're trying to reach between economic liberalization while maintaining political control.
And I was thinking, how are they going to absorb 500,000 people in 6 months if the entire economy, 90% of it, is dominated by the state? How are these people all of a sudden going to go and have private businesses?
Exactly, and that's the question. I mean, how can the Cuban economy absorb 10% of its workforce into self-employment jobs? Cuba presumably doesn't need a million barbers or a million plumbers. So I think that what's important, if Cuban leaders really want this to have the economic impact that we would all like to see, then we'll need to take additional measures, such as allowing Cubans to hire other Cubans, allowing them to have access to capital, and allowing them to form small, medium businesses and sell their products on the open market at market prices.
And does this mean that Fidel Castro, who's always been in the background, some analysts have said that he has been an obstacle to these reforms, that he is on board to do this?
Well, certainly anything we say is speculation, but certainly he could have derailed any attempts to reform in any of his public appearances or public statements that he's done over the last month or so. In fact, as you reported last week, he actually recognized in a moment of rare recognition for an ideologue such as Fidel, the Cuban system doesn't even work for Cubans. So presumably, if he wanted to derail these type of reforms, he could have done so. And the fact that he hasn't, I think, is good news.
But he retracted that. We have to say that. He said he was misquoted. But wanted to turn to something else. Do you see any future instability in Cuba as a result of this dire economic situation and 500,000 possibly unemployed or half-employed people?
Well, that's where the Cuban government and Cuban leaders face a challenge. If they don't take additional steps in order to ensure that the 500,000 workers that they are laying off from state jobs have access to the resources and the products and the type of business atmosphere that would allow them to succeed, then they could very well face problems with instability and increased pressure to take additional reforms. And I think Cuban leaders know this, and I think that only time will tell whether they take the additional steps that are necessary so that these type of reforms have the type of impact that they desperately need.
Thank you very much, Alex Bilbao, Executive Director of the Cuba Study Group. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.